In a darkened factory room in 1917, a young woman holds up the tiny watch dial she has just finished painting, and it glows. The glow comes from radium, the most fashionable substance in America, and painting it onto watch faces is the best job in town. The United States Radium Corporation hires hundreds of young women in New Jersey, and the pay is roughly 3 times an ordinary factory wage. They are told repeatedly that the paint is completely harmless, and nothing in their training suggests otherwise, so they have no reason at all to doubt it. The work demands almost impossible precision, because each tiny numeral on a wristwatch dial must be painted in one clean stroke. So the company deliberately teaches them a technique called lip pointing, where the brush is drawn to a fine point between the lips before every stroke. Every single dial means one more little touch of the brush to the lips, and a truly fast painter finishes some 250 dials in a day. The women swallow a little radium with every single dial, day after day, for years on end, and nobody ever tells them to stop. The paint gets everywhere, settling into their hair and skin and clothing, until they glow, walking home through the dark. They even lean into it, painting their nails and even their teeth with it for the dances, calling themselves the Ghost Girls of Orange. What none of them know is that the company's own male chemists handle the very same radium behind LED screens and with tongs. The protection clearly exists, and the knowledge certainly exists, and it is simply never extended to the women holding the little brushes in their mouths. In 1922, a dial painter named Mollie Maggia develops a toothache, and her dentist pulls the aching tooth without much concern. An ulcer slowly forms where the tooth had been, then another one, and soon her jawbone is deteriorating faster than anyone can possibly explain. Her doctors are left completely baffled, and when she dies that September, her death certificate records the official cause as syphilis, which is simply false. That single wrong word does enormous and lasting damage, letting the company quietly suggest the illnesses are the women's own private fault. More and more painters begin falling ill across New Jersey, with the same collapsing jaws, the same anemia, and the same fracturing leg bones. The company commissions medical studies, and when the findings point straight at radium, those findings are quietly buried instead of published. A friendly specialist is hired who declares the paint safe, and the corporation circulates that verdict while the sick women are dismissed. Grace Fryer, a former dial painter, spends 2 whole long years simply trying to find even a single lawyer who is willing to take her case. When she finally does, 4 more women join her, and the newspapers soon name them all with grim accuracy the Radium Girls. By the time of the first hearing, several of the women cannot walk unaided, and one cannot even raise her arm high enough to take the oath. The company's lawyers stall relentlessly, requesting delay after delay, quietly betting the plaintiffs will die before any verdict arrives. It very nearly works, because the case drags on and on, while the women weaken and the courtroom slowly fills with people watching them fade. Public outrage finally forces a settlement in 1928. A lump sum, a pension, and medical costs. It is not justice exactly, and most of them do not live very long, but the silence has now been permanently and completely broken. Their case establishes something far larger and more enduring, which is the lasting right of workers to sue an employer for a disease caused at work. The first radiation safety limits are written because of them, and those same limits later protect thousands of workers across the Manhattan Project sites. Decades later, their remains are exhumed for careful study, and their bones are still measurably radioactive, still quietly holding the paint they once swallowed. And somewhere in a museum drawer, a little dial from that factory is still glowing softly, exactly as it did on the first day.